I caught the. Why did I win it then?
To be continued.
This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
God, it's great to be a Cowboy, isn't it? This is how we do stuff. This is the Cowboys. We're trying to do something. Be a leader. It's time to lead the football team. It's time. It's your time. It's our time right now. 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 It's our time right now.
He was a giant, and he was a cowboy. Now these two former rivals have joined forces to bring you the most insightful, perceptive, and controversial sports talk podcast in America. Former Dallas Cowboys defensive end Jim Jeffcoat locks horns with former New York Giants wide receiver Byron Williams. And now, here's Byron Williams and Jim Jeffcoat.
Hello.
Hey, Jim.
How are you?
I'm doing great. It's hump day. Hump day Wednesday.
Hump day, but here's the thing. Off camera, we were discussing things, and you tried to mess with my integrity. I caught the biggest fish. We did a charity event on Saturday. And I caught the biggest fish in Byron because he's jealous. He said I didn't catch the biggest.
Jim, I stayed at the tournament. You left at 12. I stayed to 2 or 3 o'clock, and I actually took my fish on stage, and they weighed my fish.
But all you had to do is look up there, and you could see the name Jeffcoat at the top. And nobody outweighed. I weighed it, and Jeffcoat was the biggest fish.
Let me ask you a question. Was you in the boat by yourself?
No, I was not.
That's my point. How do I know the other man didn't catch the fish?
How do I know that you didn't catch? And how do I know you caught that fish?
I got my picture on the boat. My picture's on the boat.
Just because you're on the boat doesn't mean you caught the fish.
I'm gonna send the picture. I'm gonna send the picture to Jack and Matt. I'm gonna send them the picture tonight.
I will send them a picture too.
Yeah, but if you standing on land, that's a proof that goes to show me you could have went to your trunk and got a piece of fish.
After the tournament, you weigh fish in to see who the winner was. You cannot weigh them on the lake. You have to bring them in. I brought my fish in, which was obviously the biggest. And now, because it was so big, you guys, I fish. I love to fish. You
got the biggest head, but I don't know you got the biggest fish.
But there's always going to be, and you're happy because right now, everybody out there, we're at a golf tournament. There's a Jim Jeffcoat and Friends golf tournament. It's sponsoring NPH, which is orphanages in Latin America. Right. Both of us are at it right now. Right. And they wouldn't let me play. I had to float around, or I would have won the celebrity part of the golf tournament too.
Well, it was a great day though. We had so much fun out here. The wind was high. It rained last night, but it was a great group of guys out here playing golf. Really good. We had about 20 NFL players out here, and was a great time. I'm glad. Yeah, they did. It went well. This was the first one, not the last, and we both did have a good time. And I appreciate you getting the NFL players here, and I always can appreciate that. You still didn't catch the biggest fish, but we teammates, but you probably can eat more than me. But for skills and catching fish and hitting where I am the greatest at. Hitting the golf ball, catching the fish, the skill set that I have is unparalleled.
Okay. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about the NFL owners meeting because this is getting out of hand. Today, the NFL owners had a new program, Inspire to Change programs, and it launched in 2017, and it raised $250 million. It's to raise $250 million to 27, and it's already raised the money for social injustice, and it's given to nonprofit and grassroots organizations. So this is something that could obviously help this group that I'm helping, NPH, which helps orphanage in Latin America. Byron obviously is having issues with his phone, so I'll talk, and I won't be interrupted by Byron, which is great. So this is a good thing, but it's kind of sad that the NFL, the way they work, is if they get some comments or disagreements with how they're operating business, now they do things like this. They should have been out on the out front of us or the forefront and doing this all the time. And they're getting pressure from different areas. And that's the thing that forces them to do this. But we need to have them do things before they get to these various things. Other things that's going on is the new Rooney Rule. We were talking about the new Inspire to Change program for they raised $250 million. They were supposed to buy by 2027, but they've already raised that money. And the social injustice for social injustice and giving nonprofit and grassroots organizations. But the thing is why did they wait to now to announce this? They should have been doing this all along.
Exactly. And I know we've been involved in Dallas and some of the football camps. We go into the schools, we go into the university as well. And we have that social justice platform. And it really made up a lot in the community last year when the COVID hit. And we did the social justice platform instead of going into the schools because, you know, we limited on where we went. But it really have built up. It have helped so many young kids, you know, have a platform on their voices and how they see things. And it really have been very encouraging and inspiring to see these young people speak out and making a difference in the communities.
Well, that's always good. And especially former athletes, because a lot of people in different communities want to hear what they're saying and doing things positive. It's similar to what LeBron James does in Akron, Ohio, where he grew up with, and he's doing things there, and he's helping his community of obviously that supported him through his career. The next thing is the new Rooney Rule. Every team is required to hire a female or ethnic minority on a one-year contract for the head coach to spend significant time with, and obviously it's being paid by league fund. But this is interesting. It has to be on offense.
Yeah, we. I think that's good. I see. You know, you see that some women's in the league on the offensive side of the ball and helping the offensive coordinators or the quarterback coaches. And just it's very encouraging to see, you know, minority people coming in on board and have an opportunity to see if they can, you know, make some impact. And it's really good that the NFL is one of the first sports to kind of, you know, turn the table on trying to make things like this happen.
But here's the question I have to ask you, and I'm just asking this question.
Mm-hmm.
I know that Byron Leftwich, he won the Super Bowl, and he is the offensive coordinator for obviously Tampa Bay. Eric Bieniemy at Kansas City, they're both former players. Pep Hamilton at the Houston Texans. And other than Pep Hamilton, are they calling the plays? You understand what I'm saying? Are they just doing the game planning? Because I know, and this happening in Dallas with Maurice Carthon, who one of your former teammates, and Sean Payton. Carthon was the offensive coordinator. Payton was the quarterback coach, and Payton called the plays, and Carthon prepared it. He didn't call the plays. So you don't want just a position where it's just in name only. You want a position where they have some impact on what's going on in the offensive game planning and being able to it. That's how to learn.
Yeah, and unfortunately, sometimes, the head coach and the offense coordinator, sometimes they share those responsibilities. But mainly, if you're an offense coordinator, you want to be able to be 100% sure about calling the plays and creating that position to where you can move on for, the next job, if a job opening and so forth like that. But in the NFL, sometimes it can be a team-oriented type deal to where, the insight can be from the head coach to the offensive coordinator. And I think sometimes they share that. But I know like every enemy, they kind of share it from time to time. But who will have the final say-so? Andy Reid might have the final say-so. So
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that's
yeah.
And that's the thing. And you're right. Who has the final say? Because you don't want to be a position coach just the fit, just have the title. You want to be able to make some input in the game plan. Hopefully, they are making that game.
Well, that might be why Eric hadn't got a job yet, because it's something to keeping him from getting that next step for have the head coach opportunity to be able to be a head coach. But he's been interviewed almost every year in the last 5 or 6 years.
Exactly. So that's a concern, and that's going to have to be addressed for both for all these, and just don't put them in figurehead positions. Put them in positions where they can make an impact, like you said and I've said. Other news, and the overtime rule is changed, and it's only in the playoffs.
Only in the playoffs.
And this is interesting because each team gets a possession. So there's a likelihood that you're going to have possibly longer games. Probably
be longer games, but that means too that both offenses have an opportunity to end the game, and I think that will be good for some teams. But right now, they're gonna keep it like it is in the regular season. In the 17 scheduled season, they're not gonna have any rules in the regular season, but in playoffs, each team will have an opportunity to receive the ball or have the offense, have the offense set up to run the ball. Yeah.
Here's my problem with this is it all stemmed from what happened with the Buffalo Bills. And the Buffalo Bills should have stopped Kansas City on defense, and they would have had the opportunity. The Cincinnati Bengals did stop Kansas City. And that's the thing. Why would you change a rule? And I'm old school. I want the sudden death. Either you find a way to win the game. And I want the old rules.
I think too, they kind of looked at Major League Baseball. When they go into the extra inning, they wanted to make sure that they could have a rule out there that can make the game more opportunities for both teams to have that win. So I think it was fair, and I think if they would have had this rule this past year, I think Buffalo would have been better off in receiving the ball and having an opportunity to score as well.
Maybe not. Who knows? And they might have got outscored because I think as the next person who scores, they would win the game. But and that's true. Somebody put up their marquee of arena football. That's what it's coming. I mean, and that's what it is. It's arena football instead of this is not the NFL. The NFL is always trying to appease people. If the media says something negative about them, they try to appease them instead of what's better for the game. I mean, and that's what scares me.
Well, I want to say this though, Jim. If you look at the NBA when they play the All-Star game, if you look at the Pro Bowl, they making it so easy to score.
Exactly.
And they making the game. They make the game boring if you take away the defense. So you're absolutely right. I think they need to really, really make some hard decisions on making sure that this game is not being watered down.
Exactly.
And making sure that, defense matters, because defense
and still gonna win championships.
Yeah. So you can't just let everybody score at will. You're taking the fun out of the game.
Yeah, I think they are, but and that's what they got to look at, just like you said. And I don't think the offense gets all the advantages; they get a majority of them. And the one thing, the position that I think gets a lot of advantages in this day and time is quarterback. And then you change the bump rules too with receivers, but I think they still have to battle because they kind of let. It depends on who the officials are. They let a lot of things go away.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think quarterbacks get it. I mean, if you breathe on the quarterback, I seen this year they sacked a quarterback in New Orleans. It was, I think it was Kyler Murray, and they called a flag on a sack. I mean, are you supposed to lay him down? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is from a defensive standpoint. I understand in the secondary the holding and the pulling and the grabbing, and I don't have a problem with that. But we're taking away, just like you said, we're taking a lot of aggression from the game. And I know there's reasons, safety reasons, but there's also it's football, and we all know what we signed up for. So that's.
And I'm gonna go a step further. I think over the course of the last 5 years, the refereeing have gotten better in the National Football League as well.
I would agree.
Because I think these guys have to make some good decisions and be point on, and you have seen the improvement in the refereeing as well.
I agree with you 100%. But that's something that is going to be looked at for quite a while. Now, let's get a little bit of NFL news.
NFL, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. Andy Dalton signed a 1-year contract with the Saints. And somebody asked, is he better than Winston? I don't think he's better than Winston. I think what they're doing is they're putting Taysom Hill and they're making him a tight end. And I think they needed a backup. I think Winston is probably their best chance to win in New Orleans. Dennis Allen is the new head coach. They'll still play really good defense. I just think, but the thing about the Saints is they got some other issues. Michael Thomas's situation, which Allen went along to see him in L.A., and then they got the Kamara issue from Vegas that's not resolved yet, and we don't know what's going to happen with Alvin Kamara. And they're aging a little bit. Malcolm Jenkins retired today.
He retired, 13 years.
13 years. So these things. What do you think direction that the Saints are headed in? What way do you think there's?
Well, the only positive thing that I see with the Saints is their defense is really good. Mm-hmm. You know what they're gonna give with their defense, but they got to revise the receiver core, the quarterback situation. The good thing about Andy Dalton is that he's a good proven backup. He's gonna come in and make sure the game is regulated, not making no stupid mistakes. He got plenty of experience, and he brings some leadership to the table. So that's the good thing about Andy. He gonna come in and do some good positive things overall, and I think you got to have that in your backup quarterback.
Yeah. Now here's a question for you: with Malcolm Jenkins retiring, do you bring in Tyrann Mathieu? And the reason I say that, he is an LSU. He's a New Orleans, Louisiana guy. Do you bring him in to basically replace Jenkins?
I think that would be a good positive move. I think that would be something that'll add more value to the defense, leadership, and he could be like Malcolm Jenkins was on defense. He was a lead. He had the C on his chest. He was the captain, and of course Matthews would be the same situation. Case scenario. I think you got to have leaders in the secondary, linebacker, and the different positions. I think that brings more value to your overall team, because once you can get that playoff run, it's an 18 weeks schedule, 17 game schedule, but it's grinding. It's a lot of injuries, and a lot of things can happen in the season. So you got to bring some key people into, to fit into the equation for your team.
Yeah, and Do you think they're waiting for his value to go down and get closer where they might get him for a better price on Matthews?
I think you probably can't wait till too much value going to go down in a player like him, a Pro Bowler, Super Bowl winner. I think he brings a lot to the table, so they're going to have to pay him a certain amount of money.
Yeah. And they got to look. I haven't looked at their cap situation and how that's going, but that does make perfect sense.
Seems like they ought to have a little cap money because they ain't got no 40 million, $35 million quarterback. And that's what takes up a lot of the cap.
That's true. Yeah. So that's something to keep looking at with Matthews. Is that an option? Because, like I said, he's a Louisiana guy, and will they look at him? How about the Ravens? They signed John Harbaugh to a new 3-year contract, and there's no progress with Lamar Jackson. That's right. An interesting thing because I was listening to the owner of the Ravens, and he said that it's going to make it more difficult because of Deshaun Watson's contract to sign quarterbacks, because everybody's going to say, wait a minute, I want Deshaun Watson money. And I've told you my feelings about mobile quarterbacks. Well, not mobile, but quarterbacks that run. They don't have they're like running backs.
They don't have longevity.
Yeah, their careers are shortened. And Lamar Jackson, with all his talent, is still a running quarterback.
And the key number for their age is 28. So around that 28 year, when they get around 28, you got to really, try to figure things out for those type of quarterbacks.
Yeah. And there's a few, but he even got in Michael Vick. The only one that I know that I can, in recent history, McNabb he was pretty healthy, and Randall Cunningham was pretty healthy, and to the certain, he changed Steve Walsh's style. Yeah. As he matured, but that's a concern. That's a huge concern with those quarterbacks, because you saw it with RG3. Yep. What happened to him, and we saw it all through the history of football, pro football. Is the mobile quarterbacks they put themselves in danger.
It's a fast, impactful game, and those defenders do not play.
No, they don't.
They be bringing the hat.
And then think about this, and I'm not saying he's going to be a great player, but the guy from Georgia, he's 6'3", he weighed 300, and I think he weighed 340 pounds, and ran a 4.78. Could you imagine a quarterback getting hit by him?
Hey, I'm telling you, he's bringing it. He have made, and plus they was talking about how good he looked at the combine.
Yeah, he didn't have a lot of fat on him.
Man, so just amazing how fast these players are running now, and the angles that they take. And this guy gets that he cut off those angles like no man, like a DB. I mean,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Just phenomenal.
That big. Yeah, that's interesting that we both say that, but imagine Lamar Jackson getting hit by him or some of these mobile, because he can run and he can get there. And once he gets started, that's still 340 plus pounds.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's something to think about. But back to Harbaugh, do you think he deserved a 3-year extension?
I think with the way he managed his team, they was a one game or 2 or 3 plays away from being in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So he have done some great things there in Baltimore. I think they want to make sure that he's comfortable, get him in a situation where he can bring in some good defenders and they need a couple of good wide receivers, and I think they'll be right back in the top of the hunt.
Mm-hmm. Interesting, because it's been quite a while since he's been to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And he's been in the playoffs, but he hasn't been to the Super Bowl. But that's interesting. And they got some quality. Injuries got them this year. I thought injuries had them, but they do have some quality players.
Plus, he's one of the coaches that's been there for a minute now. Yeah. He's an established coach, and I think he fit I guess him and the owner they must have a good relationship.
They must, yeah. So that's something that we'll follow that over the next couple of weeks and see if it was a good choice. But I think it's okay because he does do it. He does do a nice job. It's just he's got to win some games. Now here's an interesting one. Jim Irsay, who's the head coach, he's the owner of the Colts, Indianapolis Colts. He said Carson Wentz's error was a big mistake. The worst thing you can do is try to keep living with it and go forward. Obvious, and we had to move away as a franchise. And it's very obvious that Carson Wentz left a bad taste in everybody's mouth in Indianapolis. It was very obvious that they wanted to move away from him. Do you think, in your opinion, was it because of his vaccine status or what his stand on it? Or do you think he was a cancer in the locker room?
Probably a combination of both. I think a combination of both. And I just think it's kind of unusual that the owners speak about players, especially the quarterback, because the quarterback is the elite player. And I just think you just leave that to the coaches and leave that to the media, let them talk about the player. But Irsay need to just not talk about things like that. I just think it's really kind of sad that he need to come out and make a comment about Carson Wentz when he still got a question mark on what he can bring to the teams. And I just think if you look at his track record, your track record kind of explain it. I mean, they made a bad decision, but that's part of football. They just you don't know when you get into week 15, 16, 17 if these players going to get you to that Super Bowl run.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say this because when I was coaching for the Dallas Cowboys, and it was interesting, I had a player that I had played with in Buffalo, and he had came to the Cowboys. And Bill said, this guy's a locker room lawyer. And I had played with the player, and I said, no, he's a pretty good guy. And we did get him. And sure enough, Bill was right. He was a locker room lawyer, and he was a cancer in there. And the reason I say that is, did the Redskins get a cancer in their locker room? They had issues last year. Is this guy going to be an issue in their locker room? Because, well, I shouldn't say the Commanders have.
Yeah, the Commandos.
Yeah, I lost my mind a little bit and said Redskins, the Commanders. I have them. Do you think these guys like him can change?
It just going to depend on the head coach and how he can manage those players. Yeah. And if that's the case, then, maybe this is a third charm for Carson Wentz. And I think maybe he want to get back to the NFC East and prove something to the Eagles and the Giants and the Cowboys, the team that he's going to be playing. It's just something about playing in that NFC East. So maybe that might stir him back up and maybe be a competitive quarterback again. And maybe that's what they need in Washington.
Maybe it, but I just wonder how many quarterbacks in your recollection have went to 3 teams and turned out to be successful?
Not many at all. I still say this, like I said 2 or 3 months ago, the Redskins should have tried to get Jimmy G. That's who they should have tried to get.
And then speaking of Jimmy G, the San Francisco 49ers, John Lynch came out and said they don't need to trade Jimmy G. They don't need to cut Jimmy G because they have enough cap space to keep him. But here's the thing if they're going to start Trey Lance, think about this. Jimmy G is going to make $25.5 million. Trey Lance is not making that close. So you're going to say that you're going to have a backup quarterback making more than your starter?
But I still think, too, they feel like Trey Lance ain't quite there yet. He's what, 21? And I just think, too, that they just want to make sure before they let Jimmy go, that Trey Lance is going to be the future for the 49ers. And I don't see nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm. I guess somebody said Nick Foles went to 3 teams, but Nick Foles was Philly his 3rd team.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I think it was his 3rd team. I think.
Okay.
Because he was in Chicago, and
well, he's at Chicago now.
Yeah, but he was in Philly. Nick Foles.
And then he went to Jacksonville.
Yeah, Jacksonville.
And then went to Chicago, but he had his success at Philly, correct?
Yep. Yeah, he won the Super Bowl.
Oh, he's saying Nick Foles made more than the starting quarterback. Interesting.
Oh, he made more. Okay.
So yeah, and that must have been Andy Dalton, if I'm correct. So yeah. So let's keep on moving on in the show. Deshaun Watson is always Deshaun Watson. The Deshaun Watson deposition starting to leak to the media what he said, and I looked at it and there's edited versions of it, and they're making him look edited to make him look good, and on the civil suit moves to the front burner. Now I was at our golf tournament. I was talking to a judge, and she said, just like somebody was on a show said, that a civil suit is different than a criminal suit, and you don't have to have as much evidence as you do in a criminal suit. There has to be beyond a doubt in a criminal suit, but it doesn't have to be beyond a doubt. You just have to prove that something wasn't right. So that's the thing I was looking at there, and that's
plus in the civil suit, you might have to pay the complaint money or the plaintiff money versus going to jail. So at least he'll be on the field being able to play, and it won't be charged with going into jail. So, but maybe that's another difference too, that you can actually rely on depending on having them being a part of the team.
Yeah, and the thing is too is that today or yesterday, Roger Goodell said that he's not out of the woods yet. He can still be suspended, Deshaun Watson, in the civil suit. That was kind of interesting that he would bring that out there. I'm wondering what's going on. First of all, he said Daniel Snyder is still suspended, and he can't do daily operations. He didn't mention anything about what's going on with the Cowboys and what they did, and he hasn't mentioned it. What's going on in other teams in the NFL with Miami. So what I'm wondering is the problem is there double standards, and then Goodell doesn't work for the players. He works for obviously the owners.
Right.
And I'm not saying right or wrong, but is he putting things out that's equal to each side, the players and the owners?
He's not right now. I think he got the value what the owners, majority of the owners want to see happen in the league. So yeah. I think that's his job, and those are the decisions that he had to make. And on the player side, that's why they got the NFL Players Association. That union supposed to be fighting for the players and their rights. So it's still gonna be a separated type situation on how they handle cases and case scenarios of what's going on with the players and the owners and the leagues and the coaches.
Yeah, that's true. That's another thing we're going to see, because there's most likely that he's going to have to make a settlement on the civil suit. And I don't know what happened to Ben Rothenberger, and he got suspended for 4 games?
Yeah.
His issues. And is that the same thing that's going to happen to Deshaun Watson? I'm just curious. And we don't know. We won't know until there's some kind of resolution to these cases.
Well, I know the owners of Cleveland said they did their homework. They did a lot of investigation themselves. They done talked to various different people, their attorneys. So they feel really good about the situation of bringing him on board and paying them that money. So evidently they might know something that we don't know, but maybe they done set aside a certain amount of money in the civil court cases so they can move on and get down the road further for him staying focused on his football playing and make some changes to the morale of the team in Cleveland.
Yeah, but it was interesting. This was said by Jimmy Haslam, the owner of, and his wife, the owners of the Cleveland Browns. They did say that this wasn't their option, or this is what they wanted. They said that this was football. The football operations chose to do this with Deshaun Watson. But they still signed the check, so they had to agree, I think.
Yep.
But they said that it wasn't, they didn't push this situation or push getting Deshaun Watson.
But I thought they said that they feel really, really comfortable with all the investigation that they did with their attorneys and everybody that had, they brought in all the facts about what happened.
Yeah, and there's fallout on this. The wife of the Cleveland Indians legend Jim Tomei has canceled her season tickets to the Browns game, but I'm sure there's going to be people that cancel it. But that's the interesting thing, is you're guilty until proven innocent instead of being innocent than proven guilty. And we don't know what really happened.
Yeah,
but we're going to find out.
Exactly. And sometimes you just have to let it play out and let over time we'll see what happens, and hopefully he can be back to rectification and become a quarterback and not become a playboy.
Yeah. And then also with Cleveland, the GM for the Browns, Andrew Berry, regrets not telling Baker Mayfield that they were discussing things with Deshaun Watson. And I don't know, Baker Mayfield's not in a good place right now, because you can't bring him back and you can't get rid of him. I mean, if they get rid of him, he's going to go to Pittsburgh.
Well, I think being a team, Baker Mayfield deserved more than what he got. Regardless of how you feel about it, I think he was the first player taken. Some of the things he done, and some of the things he do in the community. And at the end, you should be able to sit down and talk to Baker Mayfield and say, maybe they did, but maybe I don't know. But at least they owe him more for his, doing the right thing for him and his family.
I agree, but it was interesting to me, and I've said this before, is nobody in that locker room came to the defense of Baker Mayfield. And that scares me. And it's the same thing really with Carson Wentz. They didn't come to the defense. So either there's a disconnect somewhere, and I don't know where the disconnect is, but why wouldn't some players stand up and say, hey, I'm for you, Baker. I feel bad for you. And this is an awful situation. I mean, you got a job one day, and now you don't know what your future is. I mean, we've seen the eviction sign. He got evicted, and he doesn't even know the password to the Brown Stadium anymore. He might bring up that eviction sign.
Yeah, that eviction sign. He only have a key to open up the gate, open up the lock.
I know.
But I don't know. I just think they didn't do it. They didn't do it in the proper order.
I would agree with you, and I'm not I thought he had some issues, but do you think the head coach we've seen a lot of coaches are now going after 2 years. Do you think this coach has his job is online? Because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 years ago, Mayfield was one play away from beating the Chiefs.
Yep.
And now he's the awful guy, awful quarterback, awful person. And that's weird. That's weird. After a year, he was injured. He did injure his non-throwing shoulder. And that's the thing. I just wonder what's really going on. Because Cleveland...
every time my phone rings, the damn thing go off. Damn.
Yeah. Watson somebody said Watson has a combination now. That would be a funny commercial. Oh, my goodness. Byron's disappearing again. His phone's going off and everything. But we'll keep on going on. That is it. And he said, hey, it had Baker Mayfield giving Deshaun Watson the combination to there, or if Baker Mayfield or Deshaun Watson coming in and saying, "Hey, get your stuff and get out. I can't give you the combination." That's bad.
This day and time, it's a whole different case scenario on what's happening with some of these teams.
Yes.
It's mind-boggling that you don't used to see. It's a word called loyalty, right? Loyalty.
Yep,
Why some of these teams are not loyal to some of the players that they really believed in at first. After 2 to 4 or 5 years, they throwing the dishwater out with the player.
Yeah, you're right, though. You're right. But let me ask you this question. And salary cap has been good to a lot of players, and they gave them financial security if they invested their money properly. But is it opening up a Pandora's box? Because you bring up a good point. There's no loyalty within organizations because everybody wants things done now. And is there loyalty? And you very seldom see players, and there's certain players that do finish where they start. You didn't, I didn't. I mean, and that's the thing. And then what's happening other than quarterbacks, you're not seeing players play for an extended period of time anymore. So the thing is they've got to get that money now and make sure they invest it properly, because who knows what's going to happen tomorrow. You could fall out of favor. Amari Cooper is a prime example.
Yep.
He fell out of favor with the Cowboys. Yes, he ended up in Cleveland, but there's quite a few players you can say the same thing about it.
Yeah, and another thing too, in the last 2 weeks with the free agent signing, this has been like a record-breaking year on how guys are signing these new contracts as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
So these are all things that we'll be talking about in the next couple of weeks, and just researching and following information on it. Now let's get to the most important thing in this session is Cowboys news.
What?
Cowboys news.
We was at the Cowboys golf course today.
Yes.
And guess what?
What?
The wind was blowing so hard, we couldn't even stop.
There.
We couldn't even stop and read the signs.
I was there. It was cold too.
I know.
We're still there. We're still at the Cowboys.
We still here.
Golf club. We're doing it. Look, we're doing it remote today. You see, that's why you see the boxes behind me. But the Dallas media is all over Jerry Jones in the front office, not making free agency to add impact players. They're still looking at Bobby Wagner. But here's the thing, and this is just my perspective on this, is you got to be smart with this money and the kind of players you bring in your locker room. You better research it, because I told you that situation with that one player I had.
Right.
And that's something that you have to look at, and making sure that you bring the right players in there. They don't have to be the most expensive players, but they better be the right ones in your system. And I'm not saying any player that's changed teams is not the right one, but are they right for them? If I was the Cowboys, I would look at offensive linemen, but they're far and few between because of the way practices are run. There's not a lot of physicality on them, so you don't know how really good in there. It seems like they're not staying healthy. And then you got to find another receiver, which they did get with
who would they get?
They got James Washington from Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
James Washington, he's not the shoo, but maybe Michael Gallup and those guys can update play a little bit. But I think offensive lineman is one of the key positions that the Cowboys needed.
I agree 100%. That's a position that the Cowboys need, and they're going to have to make some moves to help themselves in that position.
Yeah.
So that's something that there, and they Jerry said a couple of days ago that if they don't draft the offensive lineman, then they need to get rid of them, somebody's gonna sabotage him and everything, because there's quite a few people. I'm not one of them. I like Jerry Jones, but there is.
But you know what? I think this draft is really, really got a good pool of talent. I really do.
I really do too.
So,
yeah.
I just think the defensive line, the offensive line, the wide receivers, some of the skill positions. I think they're gonna have a good chance to get a good impact player with that draft choice.
I really do too. And it wouldn't shock me if they take an offensive lineman, but I really think the Cowboys will be fine. I think, and you suggested that CeeDee Lamb is the number one receiver. We're gonna find out. I mean,
I'm hardly ever wrong. I think going into his third year, I think he's gonna be okay.
Well, I would agree to you to a certain extent. You were wrong about beating me at fishing, but for the most part, you're not wrong. But
most of the time, I'm almost down point. You know, I talked about the Arizona Cardinals. They was a surprise team all the way up until week 15. You know, so I can say that it'll be a good start to see what happens.
Yeah, it will be, and I think this will be CeeDee Lamb. But I think that this will be interesting. But I don't think the Cowboys are. We're at a golf tournament, so that's why he keeps going in and out. But I don't think the Cowboys are bad off as people would like to say they are. I think they'll be fine. They'll and because the NFC East, other than Philadelphia, right now, Philadelphia is probably the one that can compete with them. And I think the Giants are going to be better. And we're going to get to the Giants news. I think the Giants are going to be better. I think the Giants are a team that has upside. If they can keep Saquon Barkley healthy, Daniel Jones gets better. I think they were. And their Mara said they're all in on Daniel Jones.
Well, you have to be. You know, you have to make that decision the last 3 or 4 weeks ago, and now you got to you got to say, hey, you are man, and once you name that and say that, then let's continue to build around Daniel Jones.
Yeah, but here's the question: is first of all, Jabril Pepper signed with Kansas City. There's talks between the Kansas City. I don't know what position James Bradbury plays, but there's talks of a trade. But also Tiki Barber. It's interesting. Tiki Barber, when news is slow, Tiki Barber comes out and says something. He says it's time to move on for Saquon Barkley and
Daniel Jones. Yeah. And Daniel Jones.
So what is you didn't have the opportunity to play with Tiki, obviously.
No, I didn't. No.
Yeah.
But he make comments from time to time, and sometimes he be point on.
Yeah. I like Rondi better, but
yeah.
but I just thought
you just like defensive player. That's all.
No, that's not true. That's not true. I like a lot of offensive players. I like a lot of offensive players.
But you like defensive. You like defensive minded players though.
Yeah, I liked Otis Anderson. I thought Otis Anderson was one of the best underrated backs that I've ever seen. Yeah. I liked, obviously, Joe Morris, because I played against him for all years, and he was tough, hard-nosed, guys like that. So
Joe was so short, though. I was downfield blocking. Next thing I know, Joe running up my butt. I said, damn, Joe, open up your eyes and see where you're running. Don't run up my butt.
He was short and fat, too. He was a good one. He was good, but there was it. And I liked another guy I liked, and he never got what his due was Howard Cross. Because he was a heck of a blocker.
Yeah, he was a great
He played
tight end.
hard.
Yeah.
And he would always talk to you during the darn game. I said, Howard, I'm trying to take your head off. Don't be talking to me. He started laughing.
He kept it fun. He kept it fun out there on the field.
He did. But I think, honestly, the Giants are going to be better. And I'm not like the normal guy.
Well, right now the Giants are ranked number 30 out of 32 teams. They ranked at the very, very bottom again.
I know, but you've seen it last year. Like we were all on here on the shows telling that Philadelphia wasn't going to be any good because they had a first-year coach, and they get Devontae Smith, and the Giants have quite a few draft picks, so they'll be better. They'll be better.
And new management, new coaches, so it will be interesting. But it's nothing like the NFC East. Once the season gets started, everything can happen.
No, that's yeah. So let's talk. Let's change the subject a little bit, and we talk about the Final Four. First, we'll talk about the men's: Kansas versus Villanova, and that's on both of them in North Carolina versus Duke, and they're both on April 2nd. And how do you feel about these games?
Well, I think congratulations to all 4 teams. A lot of people didn't predict these teams.
That's true.
I thought Duke was gonna play with a chip on their shoulder because they playing for a coach and one of the greatest basketball coach of all times. And I think it might be that season. I just think Duke is
Interesting.
So sometimes when you play for a purpose, you get a great outcome. So maybe that's what's happening with Duke.
Yeah, but Carolina got to him when they were at the Cameron Arena. They got in there.
I'm going with Duke. I like Duke.
I'm gonna go with Carolina on that.
Duke and Villanova, they'll be in the championship game right there.
Duke and Villanova. You think they're gonna beat Kansas?
Yeah.
I'm going with Kansas, so we're gonna be on opposite sides. I'm not a big Kansas, but that's Big 12. And the Big 12 was a good conference this year.
Yeah, they played some of the great basketball this year. Big 12.
The Villanova lost one of their top. Yeah, but Villanova lost that one player who tore his Achilles, and he was pretty good.
Yeah.
So they're down one player, and he was their top players.
But Jay
Wright, we also got to mention that. Yeah, he can coach. And we also got to mention Mac, our producer. He was telling us that St. Peter's wasn't going to go this far. Now they did. They met a better team. Let's be honest. They met a better team than them, but I have to give them credit. And actually, there's a picture of him with their head coach. He was in the McDonald's All-American game, and they got a picture of him with Kobe Bryant. Yeah. He was a star. Yeah. He was a star at Seton Hall. So,
well, hats off to them. Congratulations, Jersey City, New Jersey. They came with it. They played tough basketball.
Yeah, and there was another host on here that was trying to get us at each other's throats over Jersey City and some of the teams that were in the Final Four. But we stood strong. We stayed tight. So that guy, he's not going to break us apart on that.
But you know what? One thing about going into the gym up there on the East Coast like that, you smell basketball. You smell sweat. You smell all out hustle. That's the way they played all year.
Yeah. If you ever get a time, and he was a Philadelphia guy with Paul West, the Gurus of Go with Bo Kimball and Hank Gathers. If you ever get a chance, look at that because that's interesting. They were obviously Gathers and Kimball were Philadelphia guys, and the head coach Westfall was a Philadelphia guy, and they went to obviously La Marymount, and Gathers unfortunately died, but that's a good documentary about what their philosophy was and how they played.
Yeah,
so if
absolutely.
you ever get a chance. Now let's talk about the women's. Stanford against UConn, and then you got Wichita, but they also have South Carolina and who is South Carolina? It's not Wichita. They're playing North Carolina State, is it?
Yeah, I think they play North Carolina State, but South Carolina is the team. It's their season. It's gonna be their year. Stanford been playing good fundamental ball. But Connecticut, they gonna be tough. They got the best coach.
That's what I'm saying.
So it's gonna be interesting. I think, but I'm gonna pick South Carolina to win it all.
This is where we agree at. I think South Carolina got beat by Kentucky in the SEC. But I think the one interesting game is going to be Stanford and UConn, because UConn plays hard. And they don't play a lot of people. But Stanford is talented. They are very talented. And they have different options. So I don't know.
Yeah, Tara, they coach Tara, she's an awesome coach. And for its fundamental and hard work and hustle, Stanford looking good.
Yeah.
And then they got Russell Wilson's sister, the little number 3, Wilson. She been playing really good off the bench too.
Yes,
So
they
got a good mixture of players.
Yeah, these are going to be fun games to watch.
Yeah.
These are going to be fun games to watch. And now let's go transition to the NBA. We got the Miami clinches the playoff berth. The Suns clinched the first number 1, and the Grizzlies. But here's the interesting thing. And in both, there's not a lot of separation in the East with the teams. There's not a lot, because Milwaukee is quietly slipping up.
Milwaukee is going to be the surprise shocker.
Yeah. I don't argue with you there. But Boston lost one of their top players in Williams III.
Yeah.
And he's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. I think that's going to hurt Boston, because I thought Boston was the team. The Bulls haven't beat a team that was ahead of them, Chicago, because I was talking about Chicago earlier in the season. But this will be interesting. So.
Yeah, and plus, Brooklyn gonna be pretty. They talked about Brooklyn and Philly, a couple of more East teams that gonna be in the playoffs. They might have a run at it as well. Yeah,
that's true. Now you go to the West. If the Mavericks are on a roll, if they win the rest of their games, they're gonna get the third spot.
Yeah,
over
third spot.
Golden State. And Steph Curry, we don't know when he's going to be back. So the Mavericks will be in. They'll get some home games. And they're already in front of Utah and obviously Minnesota.
Right.
And so that's going to be interesting. Dallas is surging. They got after L.A. L.A. didn't have Anthony.
The Lakers, they waxed them last night, but they, at the end, they took the feet off the gas pedal.
Yeah.
But, man, Lucas has killed 35 points last night.
He's special.
3 triple doubles. He had triple doubles. Man, he can shoot.
Yeah, but do you think anybody can catch the Phoenix Suns, or anybody can play with them right now?
I think if they stay healthy, C. Paul 3, if he playing, they are tough to stop.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
they are. But it's been interesting. I look forward to this time of year with basketball, obviously, like we look forward to college football and the playoffs in the NFL. I look forward to this time of year because it becomes more exciting, and it seems that each team becomes more intense.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the thing.
All we got to add now is just add our fishing tournament to the deal and see who can bring out the biggest fish.
Well, we already know that. I'm going to bring out the biggest fish. I just want to see who's going for second and third. I am going to be it. But we're already at the end.
Jim, let me tell you something. We are not talking about eating fish. We're talking about catching fish.
Catching fish. Don't hate. We're going to have it, and we're going to video it. Hey, it's the Big Three formation.
We're going to have to do that. Yep. Because I know I can't beat you eating, but I can beat you catching.
Whatever. Hey, thank you
since you're at the bottom of the pile. Since you're at the bottom of the pile.
I'm not listening. Thank you for joining, and hope to see you next week.
Yeah, you have a great week.
All right, you too.
Final four.
All right.
I'm in the